Hello, friends. It's John Clan III with episode 218 of Shadow and Flame of Magic. And today we're going to review Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 144. And then we're going to spoil the heck out of Sorcerer Supreme 3 Rogue 2 from Volume 4, Inglorious X-Force 2, Spider-Man and Wolverine 10, Iron Man Volume 7 2, The End 2993, Black Panther Intergalactic 3, Wiccan Witches Road 3, Psylocke Ninja 2, and Infernal Hulk 4. Um, if you're watching on YouTube, I got these fancy headphones on, a gift, a birthday, no, Christmas present from my lovely wife, and trying to improve the quality of the podcast that um hopefully our audio um friends enjoy and doesn't look too silly for our visual friends. And if I'm going to have guests and be a guest and Comics Beyond, I will, try to step it up and just, bring up the production value where I can. And but before we get to comics, there was a trailer for the new, old game collection called Marvel Maximum Collection, including the X-Men arcade game. That I was hoping I've been wanting to play for, I don't know, 20 years again, or whenever my PS3 died, and then my digital copy of the X-Men, the Konami X-Men arcade game didn't transfer over to my PS4. And so yeah, I've been wanting to play it. But it also comes with a slew of other games. Spider-Man X-Men Arcades Revenge, Captain America and Avengers, which I've never played, Spider-Man Maximum Carnage, which I always wanted to play, Venom Separation Anxiety, which I have played, and the entire time I was like, I really wish I could have played Maximum Carnage. And Silver Surfer. So four games I know that I loved back in the day, which was a Tuesday. And so Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 1, number 44, as we continue my um podcast event of reviewing all the comics that match how old I am. This came out in October 2003, right before X-Men 2 came out. I just say that because of the this is brought to us by story Brian Michael Bendis, pencils Mark Bagley, inks Art Thibert, colors Transparency Digital, letters Chris Elopoulos, assistant editor Mackenzie Cuddenhead, assistant editor Nick Lowe, Sorcia editor CB Subowski, editor Ralph Macchio, editor-in-chief Joe Quesada, and Bill Jemas, president and inspiration. Okay. Um, so tampered. The bite of a genetic altered spider granted high school student Peter Parker incredible ac- or arachnid-like powers, strength, agility, a spider-like sixth sense, warning him of personal danger, and most amazing of all, Peter can walk on walls. When a burglar killed his beloved Uncle Ben, a grief-stricken Peter vowed to use his amazing abilities to protect his fellow man. He learned the invaluable lesson that with great power, there must also come great responsibility. Now the fledgling superhero tries to balance a full high school curriculum, a night job as a web designer for the Daily Planet tabloid, a friendship with the beautiful Mary Jane Watson, another friendship with Gwen Stacy, the girl living at his house since her father's death, and swing time as the misunderstood web-slinging Spider-Man. Previously, in Ultimate Spider-Man, Peter's high school was dismissed from classes early when reports came in of a young man named Gildoff blowing up cars, seemingly just by looking at them, at another nearby high school. Peter swung off in second-rate replacement costume to save the day, leaving Mary Jane behind to cover for him. When he arrived, he and Gildoff got in an argument that was interrupted by the arrival of Jean Grey, Storm, and Shadowcat, members of the peacekeeping force called the X-Men. Gildoff, who thinks mutants are evil, faints when Peter and Jean recommend that he might be a mutant. When he wakes up, he finds himself aboard the Blackbird, the X-Men's jet, with Peter and the others on the way to the X-Men's headquarters. Godot freaks out and using his exploding powers blows out the side of the Blackbird, leaving them all plummeting to their deaths. Which I remember Bendis on, I don't know, 2003. So maybe the Joe Quesada boards, or maybe it was in an interview of like comic book resources. But he was saying, hey, we wrote this before ever seeing X-Men 2. And it's like, all right. Issue opens up with May Parker, the Parker home, Queens, with Gwen Stacy trying to find out where her beloved nephew is. Oh. You can follow along too on my TikTok and YouTube channels, Jacko SII, as well as I don't know, just those two places. Or on the podcast of socials SNFWM. Uh, May's getting pretty frustrated as Peter's just constantly missing all the time, and she breaks open his room. We catch up to Peter Parker, who's having quite the dream state as Xavier has placed them in there. Um, he's reading a book called Kingpin Falls. And then he wakes up to see the X-Men, which at this time, Ultimate X-Men, is Cyclops, Jean Grey, Storm, Colossus. One of my favorite versions of Colossus. Beast and Shadowcat, Kitty Pryde, and Xavier himself. And Xavier's like, these are my X-Men. And Beast is saying uncanny, which is just a clever though joke. And then we see this page where he's just staring at everybody in disbelief, and Kitty Pryde's like, "How old are you?" Because she's having some thoughts. And then we cut back to where we left off previous issue with the Blackbird exploding. Jean tells Kitty to hang on to something because she might just phase away. Then who knows what will happen to her then? And so Storm's going to try to keep the Blackbird afloat, and Jean's going to catch everyone who's falling, which would be Spider-Man and Geldof, as Kitty was smart enough and kept her seatbelt on, as you should, until the pilot tells you you can take it off. And there's a pretty cool double splash sequence of just like Jean trying to catch everyone. And she catches Geldof first and Spider-Man second while he's like a foot off the ground. So good thing she minimized whiplash as well. These cows are pretty shocked as well by the turn of the actions. And then Peter's finally realizing that he's naked under that sheet, which who took off that outfit? Anyways, I was ever have those thoughts about like when you're just undressed or a character wakes up in a different outfit and it's like, well, who changed them? Like that's weird. I feel like I always thought that was weird, but nowadays it's even weirder. And so Peter's just like freaking out. He's like, man, I'm trying to keep a secret identity here. No one respects my secret identity. No one. One secret. That's all I want. I want to put on the mask and keep it on. And every time I turn around, someone somewhere finds out I'm Peter Parker. And poor Kitty Pryde has to be like, we didn't know your name. He's like, oh Peter, get it together. And then we see Aunt May just walking around Peter's room, and she narrowly missed this lens, which I think on first glance I always mistake what this is, but it's clearly a Spider-Man eye. Which even if she found this, she was just thought it was like a lens. Spider-Man checks on Gildoff, who I guess must not have noticed him. He must have been in a different room. And so Xavier and Beast are explaining what they've figured out thus far, and also explaining what Cerebro is, but they've been running tests on Gildoff, and they're pretty sure he's either a mutant or he's a made mutant because he's helped the father. And Spider-Man's Oh yeah, and so Xavier makes the mistake of being like, this finally is a real smoking gun to know what people are doing experiments on. And Peter's like, he, what? He is the smoking whatever. You're talking about a person, you see? And then Gildoff points to himself like, I'm a person, because he is a person. At one point, Spider-Man and the Hulk were hot canomies. I'm sure it's because Ang Lee's Hulk's coming out, and maybe we're in between Spider-Man movies. What, 2003? So I went to Comic-Con in 2001 and saw footage of Spider-Man 2, the Doc Ock coming off the shelf. Yeah, so maybe Spider-Man 2 is around this era as well. And so Xavier and Beast are trying to explain, like, well, it's for science is why we're going to keep all this. And that's just too much for Peter as he starts taking swings at people. He punches Beast out. He grabs Gildoff. Cyclops tries to blast the dude. He gets a sock covered foot to the face. Kitty went and got like some lemonade, which is nice of her. And it just lets the boys phase through her. And then he takes out Colossus and a window. And then Xavier's like, Peter, what good would that do? And Peter has to reveal that it was all just a mental projection. But it's nice that Xavier lets you work out some frustrations that way. So Gildoff agrees he's going to hang out, and we never see him again, not even in a page of Ultimate X-Men. So it's like, well, what happened here? And then Kitty's like, you all right? In what sense? You going to be okay with this? I guess. You need to ride back home to Queens? Oh my God, what time is it? And it's like, oh, like Mark Bagley's just like, there's a reason why he did so many of these issues. He's incredible. And then Peter starts heading home, and Aunt May's pretty annoyed with him. I think if I learned anything from this whacked out day, it's that I'm officially done meeting people I admire. Every time it turns to crap, every time. I love Charles Xavier. I love the X-Men. I'm totally into their cause and everything, but now I am so frustrated with this whole thing, I want to smack him. Oh, I hope he's not still reading my mind. Hello? Professor X, are you still listening to? Uh-oh. We need to talk. To be continued. But not on this podcast because I'm not sure where my Spider-Man collection goes next. Um, but and then there's an inside cover ad for Ben Affleck, Jennifer Gardner's, Michael Duncan's Daredevil coming to DVD with a second disc of bonus features. Then Mario Golf on the GameCube. And I bought this off the shelves, I'm sure, because it just has a regular bag to it. So that's nice. Oh no. Does this ever happen to you? Like you about to put your comics back in and either the tape from the bag gets on the front cover or the back cover, and it's like, oh no, my very fine edition of a comic book is about to get jeopardized. I just realized thanks to possibly my favorite app, League of Comic Book Geeks, I can tell you the next issue of Ultimate Spider-Man that I'm missing. Ultimate Spider-Man. Volume 1. Go down to 44. Blah, blah, blah. And so my next issue is skipping so many of these. Oh, issue 66. Oh, that's the one where Logan and Spider-Man switch bodies because of, well, that's a revealed in the next issue, but fun little comic book that is. But I guess we do that in 22 years, unless we have a reason to do it beforehand. But oh, can I be doing this podcast for 22 years? I mean, I've done it for 2 years already. What's 22 more years? I don't know. I always feel like my battery's already running down. Anyone else ever feel like that? It's just like, you're not sad or anything, just like energy levels don't seem to be recharging after a good night's sleep, and it's just like, what's happening? Um, all right, so now we're getting to current comic books of the week. So spoilers, ahoy. So we have search. I know I keep catching myself where it's like, this is the reason I always avoided doing a headset because do I look silly? Comment below. And I'll take the silence to mean you don't think I'm silly. Good noise canceling. I can't hear anything going on. Sorcerer Supreme 3. Issue opens with Wog and Chaton having some tea and boy time. Then we get to the good stuff. Wanda Maximoff, the current Sorcerer Supreme, versus Madeline Pryor, the Sorcerer Supreme of Limbo, the Goblin Queen. Wanda arrived already on fire due to the action of Agatha Harkness from the previous issue. Madeline shows up calling Wanda the Great Pretender. Bernard Chang and Ruth Redmond, draw and color a beautiful Madeline Pryor. Steve Orlando really has her voice right too. Letter VC's Joe Sabino makes everything so readable. Now I probably should mention now too, because why plug stuff at the end of the episode? Um, I've been doing comic book reviews again, Shadow and Flame with Magic.com. And so, which I'm happy people seem to be trusting that I'm doing more content on the website, the home of this podcast. And so, yeah, I've been really liking the feedback everywhere. Um, Apparently, Agatha, the so-called official Sorcerer Supreme, made a deal with the Goblin Queen herself to take out Wanda. Madeline's also motivated. She's get a lot of cred for taking down Wanda. There's a telepathic exchange where they are in limbo, then in Wanda's mind, and then in Madeline's. It got a little confusing there. Madeline not only reminds Wanda that she comes from the strongest telepathic stock, but that Jean Grey always hated Wanda, which seems like an odd opinion for Jean to have. Maybe when they first met in X-Men 4, Jean picked up on all the boys really liking Wanda, maybe even Bobby too, adding to the insult. Madeline keeps getting early wins against Wanda, but then Wanda reveals there's such a thing as phrenolomancy, the magic version of telepathy. Wanda plays on Madeline's one weakness, her memories of Nathan, which I hate that this is Madeline's one weakness, thus needs to be threatened every time. She just got those memories back, and then she worked so hard to obtain in Dark Web X-Men 3, thanks to the editor box. Plus, we'll be talking about Dark Web more this summer on the pod. Just annoys me that this is even a thing Madeline has to worry about. She's a mother and deserves to have these memories be properly hers. Madeline tries to negotiate that Wanda's a mother, and this is a low blow from her. Madeline gives in, giving Wanda the cheapest of victories. I suppose there's an argument to be made that Wanda chose the road of less fighting, but the emotional damage, I just don't love it. Wanda promises she'll keep this a secret. Two demons approach, and Madeline quickly spins it so that she won the battle and to spread the word of the victory to everyone. Then we get to the ongoing plot again, but I love the Madeline Pryor Limbo pages so much. We didn't even get a reference to magic, which I miss, but also love that Madeline is the queen of Limbo and doesn't need to mention magic at all times. One of the panels of memories of baby Nathan had Logan, Colossus, and Storm in it, but no Kitty Pryde. I guess we really are waiting until X-Men United before we see Kitty in a monthly comic for more than a page. The Visanti trio are annoyed Agatha isn't getting the job done. I love the pages of WandaVision family, my favorite family tree in comics, even after losing the Magneto branches. But I still imagine we keep those, but just with like broken lines now. Maybe. I like Vision stating he needs to spend more time with his flesh sons. Agatha shows up to Strange's old house, rips Wong from his tea party, but Wanda shows up in time to stop Wong from getting too hurt. Be nice if Madeline Pryor show up again in the series. That's how you'll get me to stay interested. Rogue 2. Rogue tries to get answers from her mom, Mystique. Destiny was in jail at the time moment, so she can't really provide any insight. Rogue leaves wanting to talk to Constrictor. Gambit reveals that both Constrictor and Sabretooth are dead, or at least at the moment. Destiny states that Rogue will eventually remember everything, so Mystique should have just told her now. It would have been better that way. Mystique wonders if this is just another one of her prophecies, But Destiny gets a great line about that's just common sense. Flying in a general direction, general direction. Rogue starts using Mystique's powers, even though she never touched her mother. So either Rogue's powers are broken or Mystique's broken powers are causing Rogue issues. I like Rogue turning into Emma's leg, Glob Herman's arm, Magic's arm, and Beast's leg. I imagine Luigi Zagaria had fun thinking of which characters to attempt here. Needed to be mutants we immediately recognized. Because of Rogue's powers, I believe whoever she shapeshifts into, she has the person's powers, so it isn't looking like Emma, but still her traditional powers. She would just have Emma's physical powers. As Rogue's falling from a great height, she shifts into Fred Dukes to absorb the blunt of the impact as she falls to her warehouse. One of those classic normal looking warehouses full of evil and goons. Some gross mutant hating goons are making an arms deal. One of them states that only a mutant can crash through a building and not get hurt, which immediately makes me think about how any number of superpowered individuals can withstand that fall and walk away. Rogue shifts into her 80s look, which is fun. Her arm shifts to Emma's diamond form to block the bullets. She shifts into her current look, then shifts into some goons to retrieve their recent memories. Issue ends with John Stelton, who sets off the entire adventure coming home. He saw Rogue and now he wants to make her pay. He has a real why so serious grin, facial scars. Solid enough issue. Is Sabretooth currently dead? Is Constrictor? Constrictor's getting his own Secret Wars action figure from the same line I got my Magic from recently. And actually, I had a Blue Sky friend who just told me that Constrictor was apparently has a son who has taken over his costume identity, so that's fun. Let me now I feel obsessed. I've been charging my phone, which was foolish. Let me find which Blue Sky friend that was. I should have added that. If you go to Blue Sky, I am Jacko's SII, as I am on most social media that I can try to immediately be like, let me get there fast. Rogue card. Oh, Project Legendary. Oh, of course it was him. Project Legacy of X, a great Blue Sky follow. Um, told me that Sabretooth is currently dead. Constrictor, the one in this issue, is the father of the present one who is also dead. So thank you, Project Legacy of X. Great Twitter or Blue Sky friend. Um, oh, so then Inglorious X Force 2. I think I'm just not an X Force guy. There are parts of the issue I really enjoy, and then there's other parts I just gloss over. I like the MLF being a thing again. I like seeing Akihiro and Angel training together. I like Boom Boom saying they are X Force on a budget. So there's humor here for me to hold on to. Cable can't get his memories clear enough to figure out which of these teammates is the one that kills President Kamala Khan, which is a big stumbling block I have, is I rather they drop this and this is just about a comic book about Miss Marvel trying to make X-Force better. We get the vision of what each scenario will be for them, each to kill her, but they're all still in drastically different ways that one would think or remember that's how she was killed. A hell claw, an exploding heart, or a dagger through the heart. Actually, that does seem like it wouldn't be Boo Boom. The other two are very similar. Miss Marvel can join them for the day's mission as it's a teacher in service day, which as a father of a sixth grader, I am I can tell you this happens quite a bunch and maybe four times a school year. My favorite parts of the issue is Domino's growing friendship with a chipmunk or a squirrel. I truly am a sucker for an animal companion. X-Force is heading to Blasphemy Cartel, which does sound like a band Boo Boom will wear a black miniskirt to see. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be a cutting comment from Miss Marvel, but Boo Boom plays it off as it does sound like a band she'll wear a black miniskirt to. Miss Marvel doesn't love Wolverine just killing goons. Then there's just a bunch of fighting. I do like Miss Marvel trying to be bright example to follow. She even stands between Wolverine and the Goon to prevent the Goon's death. Miss Marvel uses her new powers, which I'm not sure how or what she did. She brightened up and force came out of her, maybe. Cable gets the intel he was looking for and takes Miss Marvel's side. She's supposed to be the inspiration for the team and for humans and for the world. Like most team books, I'm here for the team dynamics and not quite the fighting, but this issue has plenty of team interactions, which I really like. Brr, brr, brr. Spider-Man Wolverine 10, final issue. Pretty cool that we kept the entire creative team for 10 issues. It's so rare these days. I can only think of exceptional X-Men in recent memory that has been able to keep a creative team that long. We get Logan and Miracle talking, which is always a treat. Spider-Man has to deal with Aronix. Miracle tells Logan they can't be together. She's tainted, as that is just what they do. Logan needs a distraction and joins the fight. Miracle, as the Red Samurai, joins the fight as well. We learned that Arachnix, of course, also loved a Miracle and also, of course, killed her and wants a second chance with this Miracle, which is a very rough restart for them. But Logan slices up Arc Mix. Honestly, I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce it. And Spider-Man tosses the anti-webbing into the wound, taking Arachnix down. They take him to Reed, who will return Arachnix to his home dimension and take a little tour of it while he's there. Another Marvel series that ends at 10. I like the running gag of Peter really wants those deets. And it's just some quick reviews. Spider-Man nope. Iron Man Volume 7 2. I love the Carmen Carnero Nolan Woodward art so much. I also really like Tony and Madame Mask together. We get a Captain America appearance. He references Tony's failed marriage to Emma Frost. He doesn't name check her, but we know she's mother to him. Iron Man is going after AIM and comes across MODOK as AIM is trying to kill him. Also, Luna Lucia wants to date Tony and he's open to it, so that's also fun. Though I immediately start worrying about her dying before the issue's over. Or in 5 years, some writer would be like, oh, hey, let's kill off all Tony's ex-girlfriends who aren't superheroes, and then she dies that way. The end, 2993. We get a more action figures hitting action figures. Strange 299 kills House of M Wanda, so that must have very hurt Steve Orlando, who's writing the series. Red Hulk versus 2099 Red Hulk. Logan 2099, who's our Logan but living through 2099. Versus Age of Apocalypse, Weapon X. Apparently, the Nova Force can melt adamantium. We get a great page of 616 Cyclops and Jean Grey showing up to fight 299 Cyclops and Phoenix. Both Cyclopses, dual Clopses. Fall, we see May Parker, Spider Girl for a panel. I always love to see Mayday. Issue ends with Mephisto announcing the winners are losers, as they are now the secret defenders of 299. We have both green and red Hulks of 2099, Spider-Man 29, Logan 2099, and four others I didn't quite recognize. Black Panther Intergalactic 3. Fun to see Black Panther style versions of Juggernaut, Fred Dukes, Mystique, Pyro, and Quicksilver. Juggernaut 1 is on Earth and the others are in space. They seem to be sticking around. The Juggernaut also appeared in the previous issue. Wiccan, Witches Row 3, we get a page of Scarlet Witch and Storm. Wanda wants Storm to accompany her to wherever Wiccan is, and Storm needs a moment to pack an overnight bag. I like seeing these two being friends. Uh, Psylocke Ninja 2, Betsy and Cannon's body fighting goons. A lady is trying to revive Elektra. What she does, she gets taken out. Oops. Betty has to fight Elektra. Fresh from the Lazarus pit, Betsy fights Elektra's. Uh, um, and then Betsy writes Elektra's memories, and Betsy ends up in a giant jar. So, and then Infernal Hulk 4, in anticipation of the the X-Men appearance that we know Magic's on the cover of. I started reading this series. Such an incredible run. Philip Kennedy Johnson and Nick Klein, no relation. that I'm aware of. He's a German artist, so I don't think. Well, my father was adopted, so we don't really know. But uh, if he was aware of a John Klein and a Mary Klein in near Oneida, New York, perhaps, but I doubt it. Which I always found it weird that my father would then name me the third after a guy who put him up for adoption, which is why Walker D is a Walker and not a John the Fourth. So I know people were like, "What's the fourth? How many fourths are in the world?" And I gotta admit, whenever I meet a fourth, I'm just like, "Oh yeah, my son." But John's way too popular name. Maybe if we were any other first name, but it's just irritating. Plus, whenever a phone call happens and you're in your teenage years, like, which you want the father or the son? And then it's like, ugh. And then people make comments afterwards. I don't know. It's complicated. Um, anyways, so those two, Philip Kennedy Johnson and Nick Klein, are just making an incredible Hulk runs. I also read Volume Incredible Hulk Volume 6, issues 4, 20, and 30 with all the X-Men references according to fandom. And so I should just go read the entire 30 issue run, but I feel like I got the gist of a lot of things, but issue 4 was pretty great. And I think Magic's supposed to be in issue 7. Yeah, yeah. Or at least the X-Men, but Magic's on the cover, so one would think should be one of the X-Men present. And then apparently this Infernal Hulk ends at issue 10. There'll be another series, and then that will all lead to Hulk War Infernal Saga, something like that. So then next week's comics, we have Moonstar 1 that they did the preview pages for, and it looks gorgeous. Wolverine Volume 8, 17. Silver Sable sticking around, so I like that. X-Men Volume 7, 26. X-Men Annual 1 that features the Uncanny X-Men and Jean Grey coming back to Earth. And Iceman Omega 1 by Luciano Vecchio. And it's collecting the Iceman digital comic, and there I know for sure Magic appears, and then there's a Cape Pride reference, so I'm getting it for the collection. Plus, hopefully we get Lovable Lockheed printed, and then ideally we'll get Strange Tales like Animal Tales. And it's gonna drive me insane if we're gonna get Strange Tales printed before Lovable Lockheed, but we'll get there. Um, and then Avengers 36. I'm pretty sure that's ending the McKay on the J. McKay Avengers saga, or we're still leading up to it. So the new rankings for the top 10 X comics, Magic and Colossus 1 at 1, Avengers Volume 9 34 for Kitty Pryde, Generation X 23 1 for Age of Apocalypse Kitty Pryde, Wolverine Volume 8 16, X-Men Volume 7 25, Uncanny at 5, Uncanny X-Men Volume 6 24, Rogue 2 Volume 4, Cyclops Volume 4 1, Sorcerer Supreme 3, which I might bump that up over Cyclops and Rogue, but I don't know. Well, I like to not be too recency bias. And then rounding out 10 is Inglorious X-Force 2. But yeah, I recognize now I wrote volume 8 Uncanny X-Men, so I got to change that. Hopefully by next week's rankings. So everyone, thank you so much for listening or watching. You can follow me on socials, Jackal SII. I'm going to be putting the Ultimate Spider-Man recap on Twitter, Blue Sky on Saturday, then just the pure images on Sunday, as is our norm here. I'm going to miss doing retro reviews. Like I should do that during, I don't know. Every so often though, we do get a week where it's just like 2 books, and I'm like, oh yeah, I should beef it up. So we'll see what we do. And yeah, so Blue Sky, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter. Um, is there some and if you like to use Reddit, Daily Lockheed will love some more members. Um, oh, and you can follow the podcast on its socials at SNFWM. All right, everyone. Thank you so much, and I will talk at you next time. All right, everyone. Bye. How do you stop?